let's talk about some fundamental principles that are the foundation for excellence. How does excellence occur? How does engagement occur? What are the fundamental principles that support that kind of culture? So we're going to talk about three of them tonight. The first is this idea of step into their world. I've got two daughters. When my youngest was in kindergarten, I was at the kitchen sink, minding my own business. And I heard her coming. She's a heavy walker. She will not work for the CIA. So I turned around. I said, Carly. She said, Dad. Some of the classroom helpers are fathers. I knew where she was going. I said, you want me to be a classroom helper? Yes. Okay. Sold. So I got out my day timer and connected with the classroom helper coordinator. And we aligned one date. It was late May, like the last week of school. I almost got out of it. So I'm committed now. And this May morning, I'm driving down Bryan Boulevard in Greensboro. And like you, I'm speeding. Don't judge me. But as I'm speeding along, I had this awareness, this heightened awareness that doesn't always come upon me. And I recognized something as I'm in my car speeding down Bryan Boulevard towards her kindergarten class. I recognized that I'm not really present. I'm physically here, but I'm emotionally, mentally, perhaps even spiritually, I'm somewhere else. And I recognize that. And here's where I am. I'm in June. I'm in June because I got some big business headed my way. I got travel I've got to plan, invoices I get to send, projects that need to be completed. And I'm fully engaged in June as I head down Bryan Boulevard in May. So I show up at her class and I'm greeted by the best kindergarten teacher of all time, Mrs. Owens. Mrs. Owens says, Mr. Schlentz, if you'll come to this area in the room, this is the phonics reading area. We'd like you to sit here and read the phonics lesson with each child one at a time. So let's pause for a second. Because there are a bunch of leaders. John, I'm sitting with a leader right here. John, right? CIO, right? And as a leader, it's important that we are transparent, open, and honest, right? So let me practice that with you right now. Because I couldn't describe for you in words fully how much I love my two daughters. I don't love other children. None of them. Now, Jill, we met the other day. Jill, you got your two sons here. It was important that I said to her, Jill, I will not harm your children. I will not love them. And that was important. I didn't want her to feel distant from me. So I got to sit in this. Okay, another thing is Miss Owen pulls up this chair. It's not an adult chair. It's a shrunken chair. I have a grown man's gluteus maximus. And it doesn't even fit in this chair. Reading with these kids I don't love, and they can't read. So it was not going well. And I'm in June anyway. So about the third kid, something changed. And it really wasn't something, it was me. I changed. And for some reason, I don't know why, I showed up. I showed up right there. In other words, I went from nowhere to now here. One letter moved one spot makes a world of difference. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever been in I know you're not going to nod on this. Have you ever been in one of your committee meetings and you're there at the table? You're present. They can see you're there, but you're not really there. You're somewhere else. You're thinking, you're emotionally somewhere. Or we're at the dinner table at home with our family and we're not there. It happens, right? It's the battle of presence. So for some reason I showed up. I got now here. And the kid I was reading with, his name was Billy, and I started getting excited with him. And I was like, Billy, you did a great job. He's like, yeah. And I said, who's next? He said, I'm going to get Johnny. And then he bumped my chest. And he went and got Johnny. And then Johnny came running up, and this whole energy in this phonics area just changed. And it became like the focal point of the class. You know, when I reflected upon that, sometime later. And here's what I remember. I can't tell you much about June. I really can't tell you where I traveled or who my clients were or how much money I made in June. But May is marked for me because I showed up, because I came present. I stepped into their world. I stepped into their world. And when I was with the right person at the right place, really cool things begin to happen. I talked to one of your recipients. I asked Candace Hughes, who's the top 1% director manager. I asked her, what did it take for you to be selected for this award? Here's what she said. Visibility. Staff nurses want to see their leaders on the floor. Visible. Show interest in what their world looks like. She's speaking my language. Being out there, interacting, helping them when they need help. Talking to staff and developing relationships is key. No one works for me. We work together. You see that principle alive and well in Nurse Excellence. Show up. Be present. Step into their world and connect with your patients, your people, your community, and things will happen.